Welcome to Daily Devo. My name is Diana, and today we are talking about remembering the rescue. I've got a question for you today. Do you have a good rescue story? Is there anything that you have been rescued from in your life, however big or small, however silly or significant? I remember once I was rescued from a ditch that I slid into during a really bad Midwestern snowstorm. And the officer, who just so happened to pull over right after it happened, he helped me get my Jeep out of the ditch and back onto the road. And had he not been there, I would have been stuck in that storm for hours. Let's look at today's verse. They are words that King David wrote in remembrance of how God had worked in his story, how God had rescued. We're going to start in Psalm 18, starting in verse 16. Here's what it says. It says, God reached down from on high and took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters. He rescued me from my powerful enemy, from my foes who were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my disaster, but the Lord was my support. The Lord brought me into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. I want to ask you, have you remembered lately all that God has rescued you from? Maybe today you could do this. You could make a list of how God has supported you, how God has brought you through various events and hardships. Think about it right now. What comes to mind first? I wonder if, like David, you will be able to see more clearly that God rescued you. Why? Because he delights in you. That's what he said in our verses. And check out what David said at the beginning of the psalm. In verse 1, he says this. He says, I love you, O Lord, my strength. You see, sometimes remembering the rescue, it helps fuel our love back to God. We say, I love you, Lord, you are my strength. You were the one that rescued me in my time of need. And don't forget, the ultimate rescue that is available to all of us, that God loved humanity first, that God delights in rescuing, Scripture tells us. And God sent his son Jesus to rescue us from the separation and the death that our sin brought about. Check out John 3:16. But today I want to invite you to get specific. Think about the little and the large ways that God has rescued you. What have you been rescued from? Talk with God about it. And maybe even try sharing that memory with someone today, someone at your work, someone that you care for. Call up an old friend. See what happens as we remember the help and support and rescue that God brings. David modeled it for us in Scripture. Let's try that today. We'll see you next time.